Hi there. Hi there. Today we're going to do this. This is an articulated fly that I've put a lot of thoughts into. These are probably my favorite colors, the white and gray and silver and red. A really nice color combination. So first off, I've added a shank here. This is a flyman shank, but any shank can do. And basically what we want to have is this is the articulated part. So this is going to dangle out in the water and give a lot of making a lot of noise and a lot of movement on its own. And first up, I closed the gap here on the shank, and also the shank provides you with the possibility of adding a wriggle tail. So I take a bundle of gray bucktail. The way I've designed this fly is to actually have a cool looking articulated fly that does not require a million trillion different materials. We're going to use not, of course, some material, but not that much material. And basically we're going to use the same material for this fly several times, so that this is a cool looking articulated fly that is not too expensive, because that's, I think, one of the problems you run into often with these. At least if you look at some of the really cool guys out there who does these articulated pike and perch flies, is they use so much different materials that basically they're going to be a bit expensive. That's okay, of course. I would love to sell material, but also I think that it's if you're just started to get into this and stuff like that, then it can be quite expensive to actually make flies, cool flies like this. One of the guys who I've been looking a lot to for inspiration on articulated flies is Paul Monaghan, I think. I'm not quite sure how that's pronounced, Paul. So if you're out there, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrongly. But anyway, he's a really cool guy. If you haven't looked at his YouTube, you should, because he is the bomb. He's the man. So basically, I've tied down all the bucktail here, and I didn't reverse tie it because I do not want it to stand that much out. And there is room here for the wriggle tail and stuff like that as well. And then I'm gonna use something called a predator fur string, which is craft fur woven into a metal string that really is cool to work with. There are 6 or 7 strings in a package, and these are just awesome. And we're going to use this continually throughout this fly. So I'm going to use basically this one string for one fly, but we're going to use it 3 times. So I add that, and then basically I turn this to give some bulk and some volume without making this too dense to actually look like a fish. So I turn this, but I do not turn it completely. I do not turn it very closely to one another. There is some room in between here, in between my turns. So it still fills out the shank here, but it is not it's not too it's not too dense. It's not too dense. Yeah. Well, basically that's the word I was looking for, dense. So keep while you're doing this, try to brush the fibers out as much as possible. And there we go. I can brush it completely out in a second. Turn this over, and I cut this off with a pair of old pliers, scissors. Do not use your best scissor for cutting off that metal wire, otherwise you will be running for a new scissor very shortly to your local shop, or to flytying.eu, I hope, which is my shop. And basically I just take a pair of scissors or something to pull out all these fibers here, like so. And so there you have it. This actually looks kind of nice, like a nice big shrimp. Just add a pair of easy shrimp eyes and you would have a decent shrimp, I think. But that's not what we're going to do today, but maybe that's something for another episode. Oh well, And then we're gonna use some grizzly hackle feathers here, saddle feathers. As you can see, these are enormously long. These are whiting, and I'm gonna tie these in so they will imitate the sideline of the fish here. So basically one on one side, and then I'm gonna cut this off. And because these feathers are so long, you can easily use a feather like this. If it will just stay there, you can easily use a feather like this numerous times. So now I have this feather with a very not very good looking end here, and basically I'm just gonna cut it with the scissors so it again gets that pointy end, like so. And that way you can use one of these saddle feathers numerous times. So there you see, now I have a tapered end, and that I'm gonna use on the other side, like that. Like so. Cut this off, like that. As I said, these articulated flies are really cool. They're also great fun to tie because you have so many options. You can make something that really is cool looking and great. But the movement in the water of these is quite phenomenal, especially if you also add the wriggle tail, like so. Then I'm gonna need some flash. I'm gonna use some red flashabou. Red, white, and gray is an all-time favorite of mine, and a fly that has also been producing very well for me this year. And it is an old favorite of many pike fly fishermen and lure fishermen as well. So basically, I take not too much of this flash. We don't want this to be too flashy, too blingy, but just 10 strands or something equivalent to that. Again, tie down, but make sure that you have some flash all the way around here. This is a pike fly, and you don't have to be very specific with the number of strands you have going out here and there and everywhere. But again, just not too much, because the red really stands out on top of this gray and white stuff. Then I'm gonna take another bundle of bucktail. Not a very big one, but not as big as the first one, but a decent amount. Something like that, if that makes sense to you, something like that. Not too big, not too small. I would say, yeah. No, it's impossible to count the number of hairs here. But it depends on how large you want this fly and stuff like that. And then I tie this down, so it's not going to be as long as the tail. This is basically to taper it and to make sure that it has the right tapering effect and that this has a complete look to it, because this is going to be an individual part of the fly here. So I'm going to cut off the bucktail. Again, I did not reverse tie this because that would simply be too big. It would stand out too much. Yeah. I need a new pair of scissors, I see. That's okay. So basically, tie this down, make a whip finish, like so. Pull this together, make this tight. Cut off my GSP and add a little of super glue, like so. Great. So there you have the first part of this fly, the articulated part. Rah, coming for you major pikes. And then we're gonna tie the rest of the fly, or I should say the actual fly. I'm gonna take an Ahrex hook. This is the 351 PR Ahrex hook. This is a hook without a barb. And I really like that, because hooks without barb is so easy to get out of the pike's mouth, and we love pikes, so why not just go all the way and simply cut out the barb. Also it makes it easier to attach a bead, a tungsten bead. The color of this bead is completely irrelevant. For some reason I struggled with that. It's completely irrelevant, but it's just going to hang there. It's going to add some weight to this fly, which is something I seem to think is a bit lacking in many flies I see out there, many of these articulated flies I see out there, simply because, well, a lot of them, well, all of them at least, many of them looks like 10 million bucks, and they're just so awesome, and there are some truly awesome, very gifted, very skilled fly tyers out there. But for my fishing, at least, I need something with a bit more weight to get the fly to fish at the second it hits the water. So basically, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna attach the tail part. So I take some monofilament. This is the same stuff I use for my leader, except for so it's 0.67 or something like that. Fairly thick stuff, and I just tie this on top of here because I like that this have actually helps me get a broader profile of where I tie the rest of my materials. So basically, just around there, and then I add some beads. These are 3D beads, but you can use pearls and stuff like that. I add 4 of these to make sure the tail is sufficiently long away from the rest of the fly that it will not entangle with the hook bend, but also to give it some movement, some space to move. So I add 4 of these. These weigh absolutely nothing, so they do not make the fly any heavier. But and that's a good thing because you want the weight of this fly placed in the proper positions, and not to be out here because that would make your fly sink rather strangely. So I take my articulated part, the tail part, add that to the loop, and then I take the loop, the tip here, and put it back through all these beads, all 4 of them. Like that, like so. And as you can see now, my tail part is hanging in a nice loop, so it really has a lot of, it can really move freely on its own. And that's just my phone. It's just one of my friends calling. Ignore that. I will. So here you go, and then I really clamp down on that, and I use the nylon here. I'm gonna cut some of it off, but I'm gonna keep it about half the length of the hook here to give my fly here a thicker hook, a thicker tying down point, so my fly will be stronger and stuff like that, like this. Like that. So now I have this hanging here, and because the nylon is so thick, it will hardly begin to entangle with the rest. I should maybe have made this a tiny bit shorter to ensure that it wouldn't. But you see, it's difficult for it to get around there. It can now. If I had made it shorter, then it probably wouldn't have. But I don't think it's going to be a problem. I'll have to curse at this fly when it's in the water if it does. But you want this here to be a bit shorter than what I've done here, I would say, to be absolutely 100% certain. Oh well, I don't think it's going to be an issue, but it's annoying if your fly tangles all the time. And then basically it's back to doing what we did on the tail part. I take some bundles of bucktail here. And for this next part, you want some of the longest bucktail that you have, in order to make a nice transition between the hook and the tail part. So find the longest bucktail you can on your bucktail. I spend a lot of time selecting bucktail for my shop. When I get stuff from the supplier, if I don't think that the quality is as good as I would use myself, then I simply return it and ask for some new tails, because I know how important it is to get good materials, and especially when you have a web shop. It really is important that your customer trust that your quality control is good, because well, basically, you entrust me with your money, and you expect to get something that you can use, and I take that very seriously, and select all the materials I have. So I've taken some that is fairly long now. Actually, it was really outstanding on this bucktail, even for the stuff I have, and again I tie this down here. Try to distribute it all the way. Make two turns around the hook here before I clamp down, like so. And then I add some more thread. Again, apply pressure, some more thread, apply a bit more pressure, like so. And so there you have it. You have the bucktail here, making a nice smooth transition to the tail part. I'm gonna cut off all the excess bucktail here. Like so. This is not really that important, but it's gonna be a bit more easy for me to make the rest of the fly here with a nice clean cut off. And then I'm simply just gonna pound it down with some tying thread. It's not gonna be something that anyone will notice. So yeah, basically that's it. And the bucktail really is nice because it makes the fly really transparent and awesome looking in the water. Then I'm gonna take the brush here again. Like that. Gonna use that, tie that down, and then I'm gonna use that to make the body of the fly here, the main part of the body of the fly. Just gonna go a bit further up behind this monofilament, like so. And then I'm gonna use this to create a nice, transparent, vibrant, and good-looking body. Again, I do not I do not turn this. So it's completely close to itself. I make a small space between the turns, as you can see here. Probably can see. So this is not going to be too bulky again, and too it's going to be a bit transparent, but it's going to still provide some bulk and look very nice both in the water and of course on Instagram. Which is also important, I think. It's nice to tie flies, and it's nice to share your flies with your friends. So I think that's an important factor as well. Is when you tie something and you use a lot of time on a project like this and developing patterns and stuff like that, then I think it really is cool and nice to be able to share this stuff with friends. And I must say my Facebook is completely covered in fly patterns. Fly patterns and and fish is basically all I see on my Facebook wall, and that's okay. Really, that is fine by me. So all the way up there, I'm gonna cut this off here. Just tie down the rest of the string. And again, use a scissor that is mangled and old. I have several of those, regretfully. Like that. Then I'm gonna take. This is a whip finish, I know, but it will do the job. To pull out all these fibers here. When I design a fly like this, I spend a lot of time thinking about how to make this as durable as possible so it will last to as many fish as possible. That's also why I'm going to do the head a bit different than many of the other people I see around that does heads of these and does articulated streamers, because the sinew laser dub is a pretty cool way of ending a fly like this, but it's not a very durable one. At least not for pike. It will last some time, but it will not last as long as the way I'm gonna finish this off. So basically, here I take another saddle feather, and this is gonna be almost as long as the first one. Not completely as long, but almost as long. And again, I use one for one side, and then I use the rest of it on the other side by cutting it, cutting the tip here, so it tapers again. Like so. Really gives a nice effect. I don't know how much you can actually be certain that this really affects the catching rate, but I think it at least to me, it's very clear to see it. It's very easy to see it in the water, so I think the pike sees it fairly easy as well. Like that. Then I'm gonna take a small amount of red flash here. Just a small amount again. So as you can see, this is basically exactly the same thing as I did with the tail part. And this should not be as long as the tail, but it should be, well, a bit longer than perhaps the second layer of bucktail. And because I don't want to waste this, then we're just gonna turn that over again, also like so, like that. Oh, it doesn't look like there's any on your side. There's plenty on my side, so I'm just gonna take a bit more for your side. God damn it. Like that. So there you have it, the bleeding effect, or what we want to call that. So I'm gonna make a whip finish and give this some glue. Because I want the gold head to be here, so it's not interfering with the rest of the fly and not messing up with the head part of this fly. And then basically I just push this as far back as I can, like that. And then I'm gonna tie the rest of the fly in front of this tungsten bead. Like so. So I'm gonna take a bundle of bucktail. Again, take some of the long bucktail for this. Should it be bucktail now, or should it be? I'm gonna do bucktail. Not that big of a bundle this time. Not as big as the two last one. Again, tie this down. You're using 2 turns. Clamp down, use power. Stuff like that, like so. Cut off this. Just as close as you can. Then I take the rest of this string here, just a few turns to give it the right proportions and the right feel and look in the water. And because this is the end part of this fly, I'm gonna take my hackle plier. The end part of this string here, I'm gonna take my hackle plier and use that to turn this. Basically, this is to cover up the gap made by the tungsten bead. Maybe one more turn of this, like that. That should be, yeah, that should be fine, like so. And then I did another turn anyway, like so. So you see now we've used almost a string, but there is actually a little more here. and that was just 1 out of 6 strings in a bag. So you can really use these for a lot. You can also just use them for hackles up in front of at the end of your flies, and then you have a string like that for quite a few flies, about 3 at least, something like that, 2 or 3, like so. And now I'm going to do the head part of this fly. And the head part of this fly is going to be pushed backwards by a flyman fish skull. So basically, fish mask. So basically what I need to do is I need to tie everything in reverse. So what I want to be on top is the thing I need to tie down the first. So I'm going to take some red crab fur. Where did I put that? That's a big piece of crab fur. That shouldn't be that difficult to locate. Here it is. And when you're dealing with crab fur, what you do is you take your scissors and then you insert them here, and then you push up the part of the crab fur that you need. So basically, I take in my scissor, and then I push up the stuff I need, and then I take my fingers here, and then I hold everything. You can also use a Marc Petitjean magic tool. That's maybe better and easier, but you know, I don't know where mine is. So so I'm just going to do it this way. And now I have a nice bundle of crab fur here. Crab fur is a great material because it really is truly awesome in the water. But there's a lot of crap here in the bottom of crab fur all the time, and I don't need that, so I'm pulling this out, as you can see here, like so. And there I have the bundle that I need. This is going to be a fairly large bundle, and I'm going to tie this so it's going to be all the way around the hook once more. Distributed all the way around the hook. I'm gonna like that. That's the first part. Tie this down here, like so. You can cut a little of that off, but basically it doesn't matter, just leave it. Be sure that you have some space out in front of the eye, because we're gonna do a lot more than just this. Like that. Then I'm going to take another color of flash. I'm going to take something that's called Moonlight. It has a lot of pearl, a lot of black, some black and some silver in it. And this is going to be only on top of the fly to kind of give the impression of the darker upper side of the fly. So I take this and I make it so it's not completely uniform in length, like this. Again, this is Flashaboo, which is holographic Flashaboo, which is the best flash material in the entire world. And I tie this down so 2/3 of the length here is pointing backwards and 1/3 is pointing forward. And I'm tying it so it's only going to be on the top half of the fly. It's not going to be underneath. It's going to be on top of the fly here, like that. And then the final touch. Basically, I think this could be it. Should I add a bit more? Yeah, we're going to add a bit more bucktail. The final touch is adding a bit more bucktail, and this does not have to be long, and it's only going to be a small bundle. Oh wait, I need something more. I need, of course, another saddle feather here before I tie down the bucktail. I'm just going to cut one here that I had laying around. So it tapers, like so. And this is going to be shorter than the middle, the last one. So it will move independently of the other two. And as you see, these saddles from whiting are just to die for, you know. There are just so many feathers. I have loose packages of these as well, but the full saddles are just awesome. And if you need one in grizzly, then I really urge you to get one if any is available, because they are so hard to come by. I have some in the shop right now, this being 2007. So there I tied the last one down, and then a small bundle of bucktail, also gonna be tied in so it's pointing forward here. Again, distributed as evenly as I can all the way around here before I tie down. Bucktail is nice and easy to manipulate once you've made these 2 turns. So basically I'm just gonna look to see, some of it needs to be a bit beneath here, like this. And then I can take my scissor and cut off the annoying ends of the bucktail here. The bucktail stumps, you could probably call them, like so. Brush that away. Then I'm gonna add some, give it a whip finish. Pull on that, cut off the thread, add and for some reason there it was out of focus, I'm sorry about that. Add the glue, some super glue here to make sure it stays in place. And then I take my my Flyman fish skull. I need the correct size here. You can either go with a size 8 or a size 10. For hooked flies, I often prefer the size 8 because that really does not take up too much space, and really looks nice on these. And also it cannot contain as much air as the size 10 can. But the size 10 has of course a bigger eye. That's the distinction between them. So basically you add this here. Then I'm gonna hold everything. Oh, I can't do that because the the lid was on the glue. And I take some super glue. Just add a lot of that. That's okay here because this is gonna be covered by the head anyway, and you want this to be in to stay in place. So just pour some of this on there. That's pretty good. Soak it thoroughly. Also because this will help decrease the amount of air that can be trapped inside these heads here. Like so. Damn, this is a killer. This is really an awesome fly. This is the third I'm tying today. I was a bit rusty because it's been some time since I tied these, so I had to practice making one, and then I made one for the Danish video. But this one is the best so far today. Then I add an eye, and I like these with the white pupil for a fly like this. Of course, I'm gonna do the same on the other side, and then it's done. And really a nice, strong, very fishable fly, because of especially because of the tungsten bead that I added into this fly, will make this fly fish better, because it really will start sinking as soon as it hits the water. And a lot of all the different stuff here is really cool and nice looking, and will make this fly fish really well. So, damn, this is nice. This is gonna catch so many pike. It's unbelievable. Can't wait to dip this into the water.